From Trimble Construction, you're listening to the Connected Construction Show, where we connect you to the contractors, owners, designers, engineers, and construction professionals who are finding better ways to work. And now, here's your host, Matt Sprague.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Connected Construction Show. Really, as always, I'm your host, Matt Sprague. Happy to be here with everybody and really happy to have my two guests coming. Well, they're not really coming from, they're actually in the Netherlands. They didn't have to travel anywhere. They are in the Netherlands for a company named Byldis. And we have Stefan and Emille. Emille and Stefan, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt, very much.
And I love the backdrop that you guys utilize. You put a lot of thought and effort into showing a little bit more about your company by actually being within in one of the manufacturing areas of your company.
Yeah, and this is our natural habitat. This is where we do our job together with all of our colleagues. So we're happy to do it here.
This is the actual factory where it's all happening.
That's awesome. So to get us started. So each of you can fight over who wants to go first. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So we're talking personally here. What's your background? What do you do today? And what was your journey to get you there?
Well, I'm going to start then. Well, as I pronounced, I'm Emille. I'm working. I started. My background is actually mechanical engineering. So that's something totally different. And at some point in my career, I needed to switch to something else. And then at that point, I was looking for something, and I found something nice in structural. So I started to work like 16 years ago for this company. In that time, it wasn't Byldis, it was Hurks. So a little bit different name, same company. And I started in Tilburg. So that's not this place, but we have also a factory in Tilburg, a little another town. I started there as a structural engineer. I get schooling from Hurks at the time to be a structural engineer. And at some point, I was transferred to Veldhoven, where we are right now. And that's because we bought some big machinery. And at the time, we needed some people to make connection between the engineering and the machineries. So then I left more or less the engineering, and I started to work for the rebar factory where we are right now. And at today, I am the planning engineer, 3D planning engineer for this factory, and I make basically the connection between engineering and this factory.
So yeah, that is a good explanation. That's how I know Emille and also got to know him here 2 years ago when I joined Byldis. My background is that I had my education at the Technical University in Eindhoven, just around the corner here, in construction technology, and I started working at the company Hurks, as well as Emille mentioned, as a planner, a trainee. And I soon realized that this complete BIM development is something that was close to me. So I did some extra education, and in the company I was responsible for project and company level BIM implementation. But for me, it felt there was something missing. And what I really liked of the company of Hurks, that it had his own production facility for precast elements. But then the company separated that and sold it, and it became Byldis. And after a while, I got the opportunity to start working there in an environment where we have an engineering department, construction department, manufacturing department. And right now I'm started here as an information manager. So I can use my knowledge in BIM processes within the projects we have, and help my colleagues in all the questions they get and what they have to do. But I also have the opportunity to use this playground we have here in production to see how all processes in data and developments to get that rolling within the company. Together with Emille, and that's how we met also 3 years ago, and what we have accomplished is something we are really proud of, and just it's driving us forward to do more and more with the people we have here.
That's awesome. Thank you both for giving us a little bit of insight to personally how you guys got to be in the chairs that you're in literally today. I'm going to kind of skip a little bit real quick because I'm curious I want to try to paint the picture for our listeners and our viewers of exactly what is Byldis. Like, tell me a little bit about the company so that we can kind of get at least a baseline understanding of what it is we're talking about today.
Sure.
Tell us about Byldis.
Well, Byldis is a company. What we do, what we are known for is that we design, produce, and also do the installation of a complete precast manufactured building. So we have our own design department, which are trying to get involved really early in the designing process of the architect and the structural design. So we can have this perfect precast design that suits us really well. And this precast design is not just the core structure of the building, but also the envelope. So the facade as a precast sandwich elements. And that is the main product we produce and design here in Veldhoven, the Netherlands. And we ship them to the area we have our projects in the Netherlands, of course, but also in the UK, in London especially. We have a lot of projects running at this moment. But also the Nordics, as Denmark and Copenhagen, we have our projects, and northern Germany, in Hamburg at the moment. So
in France in the past.
Of course, yeah. So a really large area we cover with our product, and what we are also are able to deliver is a construction of structural design for the customer. So we do not have our own products, but we have a complete structural building we design and get that ready for the client.
So someone mentioned to me that it's been described as buildings like Legos. Is that fair?
That's more than fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
So every day we have trailers leaving the company here to the construction sites, and on these trailers we have these elements, especially the facade elements. So we have our structural inner wall, we have the insulation, we have the architectural outer wall, what can be brickwork or concrete or natural stone or other materials. And also the aluminum facade of windows are already in this product, this Lego stone, which is going by trailer transport to the construction site, where it will be just hoisted in place. And within 15 minutes, this complete wall is installed and the next one is already arriving. So that is what makes it a really Lego product, and really easy to explain how our product is coming together by bricks and just rising.
You just mentioned that, you know, the wall gets delivered, gets put in place. So is Byldis also coordinating the transportation side, in that second wall is arriving, like it's not just sitting there, it's actually arriving as the first wall is being finished?
Yes, it is. Yes. You just on it. And in this, we have a construction site just near the company, which is also really helpful sometimes. So you don't have these long distances. But I was there, and while this element was hoisted off the trailer and being installed, we just saw the other trailer arriving at the gate. So it are these pictures that you can say how this process is going, and it is just really the just-in-time delivery. And if it is just 5 kilometers away or across the country or to the UK, it is about planning and knowing which elements are needed and arriving at the time that is, you came together.
That's right, at the right time.
Yeah, so Byldis is a construction, a manufacturing, but then also a logistics company in terms of being able to get things like on-time delivery.
It is correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And of course, we have our partners involved in that, but it's all coordinated within this company. So we have our installation group of people on the construction site. If it is here or across country or even in the UK, we have our people on site doing this installation or coordinating this installation and having a local group company doing this job. It's always Byldis employees involved at the location.
So you work with a general contractor at the location, or sometimes you the general contractor as well, that you're doing the entire installation as well?
Well, that's true. It depends on how, of course, the contract and who's giving you the job. It could be the contractor, but also a developer, because the developer is just selecting those companies. We can supply this complete design and installation of a complete building, which is wind and water close. So then another group can do the MEP and the other inner jobs, work that has to be done. So it depends, but yeah, basically when we are on site and we have this complete structure, we have full control of the construction site, and the main contractor is just looking if it is all going on time and as planned, and it can prepare his other jobs he has to do around this building in this program.
So Trimble and Byldis have a great relationship. Can you guys tell me, like, how did that start, and what does that relationship entail?
Well, we need to go a little bit back then, because it actually all started with the machinery who was in this factory hall. At some point there was somebody in this company, and he said, let's make reinforcement like we make cars. Make it by machine, make it as a package from IKEA to just put it together. So we started with Progress. That's our machinery supplier, and we built a factory hall. It is all filled up with machines. There's just one guy who's operating it, and the rest is all automatic. But the problem was when you put machines in a factory, I always say machines cannot read drawings. So you need something to build a file to put in their machines. So then at that point we know that we need a program to build something and generate a file out of it, so the machine could read it. So we looked at some software, and then eventually Tekla was it. So then the real reason that our whole engineering is working with Tekla structures is because we bought those machines. Well, that was the first thing we did with Trimble, with Tekla structures. There was a whole big thing, because our whole engineering was at the time about I think 14 or 16 people. The whole engineering needs to turn from 2D to 3D, and at that time it was just AutoCAD, 2D AutoCAD, and we need to turn it to 3D. So then we started with that. Then when we get used to 3D a little bit, we needed to make a file out of it to put in the machines. But Tekla structures at that time didn't generate anything which could manage a machine. There are no IFCs that were able to do it. There are no decent XML. There was really nothing. So we contracted a software engineer and we built our connection between Tekla structures and the machinery from Progress, built ourselves. That program we still use. It's called Tekla to Progress, and that program makes the XML files for the machines. So at that time, we were like I said, 16 people on the engineering, and there were 6 more people, which are just making the XML files from the engineering. At the time, we thought the engineering is just making it in Tekla, just model it, and then at some point we just throw it away into the factory from the rebar factory, and they make it with some machine. And then there were six people who are making out of the same Tekla. We were getting the XML file, and we were changing all names and prefixes and did a lot of stuff. There were 6 people that were working overtime all the time to be able to make the machines do what they needed to do. And at some point, I came here, and with a colleague of mine, we thought, this is crazy. Let's not do this. Why are here 6 people who's making something out of something we already have? So then, at the time, Daniel was my colleague, and he was working with me. He's not working here anymore. So we said, let's make a structure from all the names. Let's make it all the same. Let's standardize everything. So that's what we did at the time. We standardized like everything, and everybody needed to do it exactly the same way. So when you have a rebar was bended in an L shape, we call it STF and the prefix W. And so not the one STF and an L-shaped bar and one something else, because that's not what the machine can understand. So we build it actually all the same, and then those 6 people could get into the engineering again. So on the engineering, we have more or less the people who know things about the machine. So that was really the start with Byldis or Herx at the time with Tekla or Trimble.
And it's also good to mention that it was also recognized that it was a really good job in how we use Tekla structures, because the design models we created were often rewarded within the Tekla BIM awards as number 1. So multiple projects have been rewarded with the Tekla BIM awards. And 3 years ago, we also started implementing the products like Trimble Connect. So projects, teams, and also on the shop floor, we're using these software to get the job done easier. So more documents, more insight, combined data. And that's how we even got in touch with the development team of the AR and MR application in New Zealand. And we explained that we have a playground here, as I always call it, where it really happens, where you can do some testing in the real world. And that's how we also got involved within Trimble in developing and testing the new software that was just recently released and is continuously developed.
So when a customer, I'm going to try to just generalize this. A customer says, I want to build a building, right? Are they coming directly to you to design, or are they working with a designer or an engineer, depending on what the heck they're building, and then bringing that to you, and then you're having to do it over? Or does Byldis kind of have like a catalog of Lego blocks, and you say you can build from these Lego blocks? How does that work?
Well, the system we use is kind of the Lego box, but we always say we have this 1001 possibilities in what the customer wants. And this customer can come to us first, like, hey, I've seen how you design these projects and have them installed, and then he will go to his architect, design team, and telling them that they have to design it in this prefabricated way. But mostly still it is the design is already made. And we see more and more that there is this precast mind, or we are involved in an early stage that we can turn the design to this precast. So it is calculated precast, it is designed precast. So we can also make an early start in showing them how this will be in production drawings, and we can do this early start in production.
The most buildings are made are thinked with in situ, and then so that's really a bit of shame, because we prefab is a very good solution, but most architects are thinking in situ.
Yeah. For example, the projects in the UK, we were really fortunate that we had this one customer that immediately believed in this fully precast facade, and we did a lot of projects in a really huge volume of residential buildings. I'm maybe lying a bit, but around 5,000 units were built within a few years in the center of London on the Thames River. And so he believed in this product, and we could do the first time right in this precast thinking design. But we also have new other customers, large contractor, really great large contractors in the UK, and they are really used to this just in situ put structure and then put some cladding on it. So they have the structure right, and then they ask us to put a cladding as a facade to it, and then do the installation on the inner side and finishing. And so we have those projects as well at the moment, but what we do is we take them to the other construction sites in the same city of London, and then they see what is really precast engineering, production, and installation, and then those eyes really widen, and then we know that we had the right, we had to find the right trigger. And the next projects, you see they are turning and telling their design team that we first go to talk together with Byldis, and we go to the project, and we see the next projects that come from them are taught in this precast structure that we can deliver.
And a nice thing in London was the first building we put there. It was of course in precast, and there was already a building inside there, in situ building. They were building it, and at the moment, so they were already like in the third or the fourth floor. And when we start building it, we went so fast that we had the building all finished, and they were like halfway. So that fast we can go compared to an in situ building. It was just the building was already there. We go up, and they were there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it takes some time to get people involved within the product and in the thinking.
Yeah, the key that you said early on was that that they get you involved early on, right? It's they get you involved in that design process, so that, you know, where Emille was talking about, like, you know, all of the different iterations of having to redesign the design in order for it to be read by the machines and so on and so forth. It's the exact same issue that they have in non-prefabrication type of scenarios, but any type of machine control, is that you need to get your contractors involved early in the design process, so that the model, and I'm specific there saying model, not 2D drawing, but a 3D model, is not just a model, but what we refer to anyway as a constructible model, that it has the correct breaks on it, that the machines can read it, and you don't have to redesign, which takes time and money. And I'm preaching to the choir, I realize that. So
yeah, it does, because this way of thinking and designing, it can be affecting the outcome of the facade. But if you do it in a good way, you can hardly see that it is precast. So you don't want to go back to the design, like if we change this to precast, you get this cap and you get this line. And when you start early on, you don't have to go through the process over and over again. And like also the structural design of the main core structure with all the calculations, it differs when you do it in this precast design. And if you go over to do all these calculations again, and trying to convince everybody that is involved, it's a pity that you have to go through the process again. If you could have done it better first time right.
So you guys had mentioned a kind of a idea or a story around a generational gaps on the factory floor, and then it's led to some interesting discoveries in getting people back to, I think what you said, back to their joy. So I want to explore that a little bit. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, that started actually with a project. It was called Heidelberg. It was a project in Germany. There were some really difficult elements. They were all round and curved, and they were very hard to make for the mall, but definitely for the reinforcement. So, we managed to get the reinforcement. That at one point there was a really big element in the entrance, and it was really hard because it didn't have any reference. The downside was flat, and the rest was all round and curved, and
like a swimming pool. It just
everything was curved and round. It was really a little bit of a disaster.
Yeah. And there was a canopy above the entrance of the building. Three of the same
on columns.
On columns, so really an entrance for this building.
And very beautiful, of course, but we needed to put the reinforcement in there. So I was at the time already working a long time for engineering. I was working for this factory, but from engineering, and they asked me, please, can you model that yourself, because we don't know how to do it. So I put a lot of hours in it, in Tekla structures, and at some point I had something. It was correct. It was approved by the structure engineer. So we had something, and I tried to make that, of course, a drawing, but because that's what we do. We put it in Tekla. We try to put it on a piece of flat paper, and then we put it in the factory and try to make it 3D again. But at that moment, there was so much reinforcement. There were like 3,000 different bars in there. So it was nearly impossible to put it on a piece of paper. So I say to them, to the engineering, I had something, but it is impossible to put it on a drawing. I need a drawing as big as this whole building to get it readable. So I said, I cannot do it. So at that point, I thought, you know what? I went to the technical department. We have some terminals there. They are very old, and they was just standing there. And I took them. I asked the IT department to get me a computer and a screen, and we put it in. And I just take a USB stick, and I put this thing in the factory. I take this USB stick. I had the IFC file onto it. I put it in the computer, and we have in the factory a little screen. It's just a little screen, not big.
Just a 27-inch, just basic.
27, really small. And I said to the welders, well, I'm sorry guys, but this is it. I cannot make a drawing, so you have to do with this. I'm going to help you, but I cannot do it any better. So I had a lot of comments. That was not good enough, and we cannot work like this, and it was and nothing was good actually. But at the time I say, yeah, I know, but I cannot put it on a drawing. So we need to build it. So let's do it. So we start with it, and it pretty much worked. At the time we used not Trimble, it was a little other program, and at the time Stefan started with us, and so I was a little bit struggling with the program, and I know Tekla of course, but I didn't know that program so well. So I was really struggling, and the welders were struggling. And then at some point, Stefan walked into the factory and he said, "Oh, wait a minute, you can easily adjust the colors."
That was really nice.
He adjusted the colors, and I say, and the will say, "Oh, that's pretty nice. Now we can see something." So yeah, we started with it, and it actually worked, because you see in the screen what you want to make. It's not on a flat drawing anymore. You can rotate it. You can see what you are going to make, and that was really nice. So from that point, we started to make it better, and at some point we switched to Trimble Connect. That was his idea. So he said, let's try Trimble Connect. It's better. You have more possibilities. So we tried it. We put it on the screens, and at the moment we're working with the screens. You see it on the background. We have 26 of them in this point, and the welders are really fighting for a screen. We have nearly with every workstation a screen, but not everywhere. And sometimes they say, "This is my screen. Take your hands off it."
Yeah, that's a good point of this generation gap. Is there's easy thought that the older generations around us is not knowing how to use these devices or software, or so that is easily said, and then thought, okay, just don't bother them and just leave them, let them do the job. Use this welding torch and let them get that cage together, give them the piece of paper, and let's do what you always do. And I'm a little bit of a different thinking, that these really experienced group of people, it's really important to just also get them involved in these developments and let them also experience how it could, even in the final years or the other years that they still have to be productive or have to do the job, that they have some new tools and development around them, and that they also can enjoy that. But you have to really be aware of how you get them involved and on this terrain, which because we are always in development. Like the cell phone 10 years ago and what we do with it nowadays. And even they know how to use this device. So why not in their profession? So, and that's how we always involve them, and we know how to talk to them and work together with them. Just not let them, you need to do it like this. No, just ask them, we want to change something.
Yeah, we're not here to say you need to do something with this. We're not saying how you need to do it. We are just here and we are providing stuff, and we just say, I think this will work better. Give it a try. If it's not working, then don't use it. But we think it's going to make your life so much better. Just give it a try, and that works very well.
So you start just with getting on the train, and even in the Corona time, we set up a meeting that we had 5 of these stations in a circle, so we could keep our distance, and we prepared this document so we could get them familiar with the software and let them see that this piece of paper that they always have, and they know exactly how to read this paper and use it in the job. But what this other document, this IFC file, this 3D design, is not a representation of what we designed in 2D. No, it is actually the design file as designed, as how it has to be produced. And so we give them this files to them on the production floor, and you see that they started to enjoy it, and they appreciate also the time the effort you put in it to get them involved and give them the time to learn the software and use it. And so this generation gap, it is not always just leave them. Now we just try to combine them with this, because they have so much knowledge, and they learn from me, from us, but I learn every day from them to do my job even better, and understanding why certain data or processes are there or could be improved, so we can have a better process over time and just keep evolving, do our job better. And we need everybody. if they are here on the shop floor or in the office.
Yeah, we need to do it together.
Yep, absolutely. You know, it's like it's any type of change management, right? It's and you guys sounded like you kind of nailed it, right? It takes time, right? It's not going to happen overnight,
No.
but you deliver a consistent reinforcement of, in your case, methodologies, right? In terms of, you know, different ways of doing it, didn't force it down their throat, but kept showing. And I'm sure there was an element of like looking over to their right and to their left and like seeing some other people starting to have success with it. And they're like, well,
It is.
maybe I'll use this iPhone thing and
Yeah,
instead of
of course.
get rid of the flip phone.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Matt, change management does cost some time. But what we saw, the situation Emille just mentioned, for the canopy rebar design, that I just joined the company, and because I was told that there in that corner of the company they're using the screen and the software, which I was really familiar with. So during my break walk, I just joined them and just his name is Willy, and because this is also dedication to the people we work with, and Willy was there, and I was just interested in the job he was doing, and he wasn't knowing about me, didn't knew that I was familiar with that software, but I just asked him questions about what are you doing, what information do you need. So he started to explain me his job and how he does what he needs, and then I asked him, okay, I see a screen, what do you do with it? Yeah, it's all gray, like Emille mentioned, and I can't read this rebar numbers out of the file, and it's just useless. I said, okay. And while he was telling that, I used my other hand, like, okay, just some commands on the keyboard, and his eyes open again. I see color. And at that moment, he had his 3 other colleagues in that corner of the company, and he said, oh, look, it is possible. So this short change management was happening there, that they got involved, and we got them on board. And the funny thing is, he said, okay, Stefan, I need to leave. I have a meeting. And afterwards, I was told that in that meeting, with all the formats of the rebar department, he said, we all need this program. We all need to change our work, and that change management, we provided something, but they made the change, and they drive this success.
That's awesome. You found the linchpin. You found the one that brought them all
Yeah.
down. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I would say this group of people, it is, you see them working every day with this welding torch and thinking, okay, they're doing the same easy job, but they do a really important job, and that they use this technology and software and we are rewarding each other in our profession, and we are equal in all circumstances, is a really nice thing in how you get to that success. That's a nice part of the job we are in, and we also find each other in just trying to develop new ways of working and getting people doing the job in a nicer way.
Making things better.
That's the idea. Well, guys, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it, and we are actually down to our last question. And I think I warned you about this question in terms of we ask all of our guests at the end of the episode, what is your motto? Now, I don't always expect everybody to have a motto, so it might just be a saying, something that you're like, you know what, that saying is a great like lesson to live by. So do you have anything to share?
First?
Oh, Emille's good to go.
Let's get rid of the paper.
Get rid of paper. I love
Get rid
it.
of paper, please. Get it out of the factory.
Too many paper.
Just do
cups.
everything digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you can do it digital, don't put it on paper, please.
This 3D files, that they have such a good dimension and meaning to the job we do.
Yep.
So that's something we are trying to get done in the coming years. This is also change management. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a good motto that we are working on. And I always say, just have fun in the job you do, and not only have fun, but also be critical and find this equal person you can work with, or this environment where you can just do your hobby and have fun and go home with a smile and have a smile on your job and find each other and ask questions and try to do the job together.
Yeah, love the challenges, right?
It is.
Absolutely.
Well, Stefan and Emille, thank you so much for joining us. Lots of really great information that you just shared with us. Everybody listening, everybody watching, thank you so much for joining us this week. Again, I'm Matt Sprague, your host with the Connected Construction Show. And until next time, stay connected.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Connected Construction Show. For more information, visit us at connectedconstructionshow.com.